Okay, there we go. Today is Sunday, June the 16th. This is our second call for BodyShift, this week-long event in which you've all been participating fully, with vigor, with interest, with curiosity, full participation. Well, I'm hoping, because there'll be questions. Okay, let's just take a couple of moments just to line up together, to be present with each other, and this glorious work that we're about to do, and this engagement into body consciousness and everything else that we're about to explore. Let this be something exciting, something you really get your teeth into, something which may change the face of the world. Well, that's the way it works. Do some consciousness work and everything shifts. As Celera will tell us a little bit later, the quantum world. So, are we all back? Are we all ready? Okay. So, Julie, I'm just going to put you on mute for a moment. And,
I'll do it.
Okay, great. So what have we been doing during this past week? Well, if you've been following the videos that I've been posting up on the Facebook event page and the other articles that I've put there, it's been like this unfolding discovery about ideas about a physical body, what a body might be composed of, and I've put down there body consciousness, energy, and all these thoughts that we tend to associate with the body. They're all there somewhere to go to make up this framework about something which maybe we've not paid a lot of attention to in the past, but perhaps now is a time to have greater awareness about something which is absolutely unique. Your body is completely unique to my body. Well, what I've said during the week is that it's been an exploration for me. First, I made a distinction between a body as matter and a body consciousness. And I said, we have consciousness, but also a body has consciousness. And I sort of like made those distinctions because I was still trying to interact with myself about how I'm going to language all of this. And so I had to almost like have that conversation with my body as if it was self-aware, self-intelligent, and was able to actually communicate with me, which of course it can do brilliantly. And so I was getting all the different insights from this other place to go with all the insights which I've gathered myself in various ways, because I believe that consciousness isn't confined to a physical form. I believe that consciousness actually extends wherever you can possibly think about another place, another universe, another form of creation. And you are there. Somehow you know about it, you are aware of it. You have information about all the life forms that have intelligent awareness, wherever that might be. And you use it to bring power and a giftedness of life to wherever you are. And so in this moment, I'm with this physical form. And as I went on through this exploration during the week, I came to a point of saying there's a symbiosis that takes place. A body and my consciousness, which extends vastly, they also sort of like flow together very easily. And then it's like this realization, actually, they come together and they form one unit. There's one consciousness. And that consciousness knows something about form and matter and the way in which form is composed, as well as the way in which we use thought to talk to matter and change the quality of that matter. In the same way that Dr. Emoto, his work, would talk about how you use a few words to change the structure of water crystals. So in actual fact, we use language and thought backed with our energy and emotiveness, to actually change the structure of who we are in physical form. And it's that simple, because matter is very impressionable. That's what I've found for myself. You've only got to do meditation, and I can guarantee that everybody who's doing that meditation with me, we're all like on the same wavelength. We're all having our own unique experiences, but we're sharing an understanding, because that's the way the whole thing works. You call people into a particular theme, topic, project, event, whatever it might be, and they come to it with their own understanding about what it is that they can share and provide to all the others who are on that event also. So we're actually working together in this exploration of human body, human consciousness, human awareness. But it's what we do when we come together that actually makes a difference, because you start to think about a body and all your thoughts roll around, all society's thoughts roll around, and then you have your own unique realizations, completely separate from anybody else. And in those moments of realization, that is when you start to experience changes, a magnificent change. You want to know, is it possible for your thoughts, my thoughts, to change the human template? Is that a possibility, a real, durable, actual, physical possibility? Or is it a nice thought that somebody else at some point in time will actually get to work? But the invitation's right now. No, well, let's do this together. We talked, I think it was on the last call, that in the embryonic state, your embryo cells actually know how to regenerate tissues that have been damaged or in some way needed to actually come back into the fullness of themselves again. And so the question was then posed during the week, why can't the adult version of those cells actually be able to regenerate tissue? If you have a limb cut off, why can't you start to regenerate another limb? So, I mean, there's this astounding wonderment in there. So I'd like to just throw it open at this point and ask if anybody else has had realizations during the week, thoughts, comments on the videos or what's been discussed that you'd like to share.
Me, please.
Go for it.
Thank you. The first one, and a brilliant one, is that I am seeing my dad differently. I'm seeing my dad separate to his to the dementia, and I'm now seeing again my dad as my dad, and the disease, illness, or whatever you want to call it, separate. And it's been a revelation. It's been an absolute, in fact, I feel quite emotional about it. It's been an absolute revelation. And it's because of this that I was able to do that. And also, another thing, I was thinking about how I've been thinking more deeply all week about my body and how it works. And I was stepping off the pavement and crossing to the other side of the road. And as I stepped off the pavement, I knew that my mind had already computed which foot I would need to step up on the pavement at the other side. And when I got there, it was the foot that I knew. And I thought, my brain has computed that like that. And I tried it again and again and again. And I'm thinking, my brain is actually as fast as a computer. So that was another one. And then the other one is that, as you know, I've been having this blood pressure thing. But I think, well, have I? And I have been, my consciousness has been working with my body, with my blood. And when I had my blood pressure checked, it's gone down to 160. But not only that, I actually feel different inside, and it's a mixture of feeling light and feeling clean, because I've been working all week with my cells and my blood, and I've been standing in the garden. I've been going, "Hey, body, this is what we're doing today," you know, and it's just been amazing. Thank you. It's been amazing. Thank you very much.
I thought you were going to say the word resurrection in there. I think you always said the word, and then you changed it to something else.
Really? I don't think I felt that.
Yeah.
I think I was absolutely flabbergasted, though, I hadn't realised how quickly my brain computed that. I know it's a simple thing, but it was a tangible, simple thing. I thought, my brain has computed that in. So what else is it doing? You know, I thought, wowzers. It's amazing.
I think that was wonderful that you said that you could really get your dad as opposed to the guy who's got dementia.
Yeah.
And if you can be with your dad with that level of awareness, would it have an effect on the guy who's got dementia?
I think it has already, because we went out today with it being Father's Day, and he seems a lot happier. Yeah, he seems a lot chirpier and a lot happier, because I'm seeing him for him now and not this person with an illness. But it's made a massive difference to me. Massive difference. Massive. Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Does anybody else want to just say hi to Ali and Karen? Anything that you want to talk about or share that's happened during the week, or your thoughts about physicality?
I'm actually in hospital, but it's all right. I'm only for a checkup after all my things. So, but I haven't followed it this week. But I caught up with about 3 this morning. But we've been sort of carrying on with Solera in a way, and also listening to that interview you did with Ian, and something that I'd really seen this week was my cells being microcosms of the macrocosm. And somebody had said in a call, seeing lots of different suns, and I just visualized each cell as a complete universe. And then, so I've just been, you know, like, I don't know what I've been doing, but just being it together. And then something that Ian said in your interview about, we don't go there and bring it back or come out, you know, it's like, what was the word he used? Not something beginning with E. It was like, it's just there. Like unity or unison or something like that. And that just, you know, and it's like, so I just thought, so I'm really interested to see my results when I see my consultant tomorrow. I feel I've been doing something. Thank you.
Have you been working with those pictures of each cell being a universe?
Yes.
I had I had that experience, and that was a good 12 years back. And it followed, it was actually just following my birthday one year when we were by the sea in Eastbourne. And something happened to me. I seemed to have caught some sort of virus or something. And I felt like I was dying, like all the cells were dying. And Solera was aghast, and I had to take to bed, and I was sick and a little bit feverish. And I said, it's okay. You know, this is just a process that I'm going through. But the experience was that every cell was being lit up and charged. And I could almost like see the conduits of energy moving from one cell to another cell. And each cell being, as you say, a universe. That all these universes were being lit up inside this framework of a human body. And that to me was something that was absolutely fantastic and wonderful, and that I've never forgotten. And it is that type of experience which allows you to completely ignore everything else that anybody has ever said to you about what the body is and what the body can be, because you know that somehow you have something that is very powerful going on inside you. And all you have to do is peel the wrapper and start to inquire and to explore and to give awareness to the awareness that's already there. So it's like a super heightened state of awareness that you become completely immersed in. And in that state, it is like doing a journey that has never been done before. You don't have to go and adventure into space. You know, you don't have to go to the bottom of the oceans to find out what's there. This is something that's just right beneath your nose, and even inside your nose. But
yeah, I was struck also this week. You said, you know, how people get stuck in their point of view. So my expected, well, it wasn't even expected. They hoped I would get to a 90-degree knee bend, but they couldn't, what's the word, you know, be sure that I would. And 6 weeks ago, I was already at 95. So that sort of reminded me this, you know, today, particularly, well, the last few days, just thinking about that. It's like, I don't know, so I've just been visualizing in my head that I'm at least 100. So I'm going to knock my consultant off his chair. Well, not physically, but but just so he goes.
That's so funny. I love that.
So we'll see. I'll report back.
please do. So has anybody else got anything they'd like to share about what's been happening during the past 6 to 7 days? Yes, Diane, get it down.
I've had an interesting experience where I had some shortness of breath and difficulty walking. It turns out that I have blood clots in my legs and in my lungs. And I don't have them, the body has them. But it seems to me that they're there for a very interesting purpose, like little life forms, these little, because blood is a symbol of life, and that it feels almost like there's rebirthing going on, or expansion and evolution or something like that. I haven't quite got a handle on it because it just kind of came to me this morning, but it feels as if there's this pulsing, and yet it's very, very still, like I'm incubating something. And so I'm not sure. I'm hoping to get a bit more clarity as we go through the call.
Okay. Anybody else? That's it for tonight.
Yeah, for just for me, this week has really opened up for me. Like, I've always been good with my body, and I know we have the capacity as consciousness, as beings, to get it to do amazing things. But it's like there's a breakthrough we're right on the cusp of. Like, I mean, collectively, not just individually, which, when I read that article that I posted this morning that said that scientists have proven that all matter is just vortexes of energy with a void in the center, I was like, oh, that's a revelation to me. You know, like how malleable it is, and that we are the superchargers. And how do we supercharge and have a relationship with it? So it's not just like Dr. Emoto and the water thing, where you give it a good word and you give it good energy and the water molecules change. But there's another level of breakthrough, which is, sorry, that's my phone just went up. But which is reanimation and rejuvenation at a level that's maybe not even presently considered. And I think we're, as a collective, right on the cusp of that breakthrough right now. And it'll be fascinating to see how we play with it.
Aja, were you going to say something just now?
I think that this week I connect with what Solera just said. I've had a sense of being able to go further, like a sense of my own limitlessness. And before this week, I've had this vision of this blue crystalline energy. I think I shared last time, or I know I've shared with Solera, but it's so present in my body this week. And I actually feel like I can see myself as a giant, like this huge goddess. Like my body is so big, and this blue crystalline energy is just so, like it's right here. It's like in my bones. It's really beautiful. It's like the sky color. It's like the color of the sky, without any chemtrails, without any pollution. It's just totally like a pristine sky. But as a translucent blue stone. I that's how I might describe it. And I feel like, from after reading your words and seeing your videos and just this whole thing of like going beyond what I think is possible. That's something that I think has shifted for me this week. And as I'm dancing and doing things, I can feel it. That I'm actually like asking that of myself instead of going back to the, constriction. And I think I mentioned having constriction. I don't have pain. I just have different senses of blocks and constrictions in my body. So, and I also love that you said to set an intention every day, which I've totally heard before, but somehow when you said that, it like when I woke up today, because I always do something in the morning to line up, always. Mm-hmm. But somehow that like, what kind of day I'm going to have today, that really, I don't know. It's like, it switched something on for me. And that really was great too. But thank you for everything.
Mm. When we always prepare for a teleclass or webinar, Solera and I line up together. And it's that act of alignment and saying, as you say, an intention that we're going to have an amazing call and that we're going to talk things which will excel and exceed everything that's gone before. Then it sort of like opens a pathway for that to take place because it's not contained. It's an unimaginable thing that we're beckoning to and giving the invitation to. And I think when we join together and we have that moment of alignment at the beginning, that sort of like is a shared experience. So it's not individuals sharing their experiences, it's a shared experience of an intelligence that actually has something that it wants to put together, shape, reform, redesign, or reimagine. And then it will just happen. It just happens like as easy peasy. I had this thought before the call. It was just like thinking back to Stargate. And in the Stargate TV series, the story was that there was these races of highly intelligent and evolved beings who'd created these Stargate structures to enable travel across the universes. And then they left. And it's just like the races that use those technologies, they're not the designers and creators of them, they're just the users of them. And I feel like sometimes there's been this gift of an amazing construct, and that somehow an intelligence doesn't know how to use that construct, and it's doing its best to scratch its head and work out and then do things in the outer reality, but it's completely forgotten that there is something in the inner world reality which actually changes the whole of the outer world reality anyway. And so the focus is generally on something external, about losing weight, about making sure you put on the face cream so that your age lines disappear, etc. And all sorts of other stuff that go along with that. But the fact is that you can rejuvenate or put your body into a rejuvenatory state of beingness in which time seems to slow down, and the effect of the aging process is much more highly limited, and there's no more the sense of your focus. And so what I intend to do on the rest of this call is to say, let us imagine that we are the God force, that we are the race of highly evolved and intelligent beings who have designed these structures to enable us to bring something of the immensity of all wisdom and knowledge into this form that we are presently occupying, so that we're able to, in some miraculous and amazing fashion, completely liberate all the understandings in these cells, so that these cells are godlike and with their awareness. And so in that way, you've heightened the sense of awareness of a body consciousness that's been quite happy moving along doing all sorts of mundane stuff without actually being tapped on the shoulder and says, but we're here for something more. Now, the conversation goes on, what is the more? Well, we start to wonder and we start to explore. We ask questions. We pool our resources together. But somewhere, as Julia was saying, something has supercomputed and is being somehow timed to now come online to start to work completely differently in different ways than it has done before. So I want you to get this feeling now. Close your eyes if you need to. But I want you also to get this feeling about what is running through your body at this moment. Do you have a sense that there's been a change taking place within the minutes of this conversation? That you're getting a feeling of a change imminent, that you are starting to get impressions and sensings, and there's an awareness that's sort of like being kicked off in the cellular structure. And the shift is taking place. So just get the feel of what that is for you, what it looks like. So when you're ready, open your eyes and we'll share what we got. Sarah, would you like to start?
Sure. Oh, that was just amazing. I started in myself as you were talking about us having this intelligence, and I was being with the cell as this swirling vortex of energy with a void in the middle, but it wasn't a void in the middle. It was a space from which source emerged, and it merged in every cell. And so it was kind of source fueled. And then I realized a cell isn't a particle that it looks like. It's a circular wave function. And that each cell is unique. And like each cell became like a unique wonderment of a universe unto itself. But they all form together to form a universe of wonderments kind of thing. And then it felt like it all got super intelligent and super harmonious in my body, and then it mapped onto the universe. And so just like Ali was talking about, where my body is the universe is my body. But it was kind of like it's a new relationship, and it's a new intelligence. I think it's always been there, just as Julia talked about walking across the street and your brain knows. I think the cells have intelligence, and the flow has intelligence, and the blood has intelligence. But I don't think, with the human understanding that we've had, that it's activated in its intelligence that lets it take on functions that we don't know about yet. So, it was fascinating. I absolutely loved it.
You get that buzz for days, I know.
I loved it too, and I felt like all the cells and all my body responded to my consciousness, and it went, wabba dabba do, yes. And it started singing, I wanna break free, and it was going, thank you. There's always been something that it's not right. There's always been something more, and I want to get out, and I want to get out there. And we just went massive. But it was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Sounded like Bohemian Rhapsody. I just got to get out. I just got to get right out of here.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's got to be something better than this. We can all sing.
Ashley, okay. You have a beautiful voice. Julia, you have a beautiful voice too. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to contribute? Share.
Sure, I'll share. I just had this experience of, it was like wind coming through me. And I got laughing because then I saw Donald Trump's hair. I said, oh, it's very orangey today. Okay. So everything was like flowing from the left out to the right. And I've released a lot of stuff on the left, and it's lining up on the right. So to be released, so it was all going out the right side of my body. And then once that happened, all of a sudden there was just this flow that started in the pelvic area and came around, and it was like the energy was moving in an extremely different way, and then came up and around my hips and then dropped down, and my whole pelvis went clunk. And that's the area that I've been having some issues with. So I was like, oh, freedom, thank you. So it feels like all of a sudden it's like, wow, yeah, a lot of movement.
It would be wonderful if you had that conversation every day.
Yes.
What's going on now with all these different parts. I had quite a fascinating experience. It was like I had unity. It was just unity, complete unity. Everything just became, as you say, harmonious. And I got this impression that I didn't need to use thought anymore to actually act as the communication to the physical world. It was just like something beyond thought. There's like an instantaneousness, an instantaneity of movement. You know, just like Julie as well was saying about this supercomputer-like awareness. Everything was just that, like all of it. It wasn't a part that wasn't that. So going to be interesting to see having this almost like alignment take place, you know, not just between myself and Solera and myself and any work, etc., but an alignment which is also taking place in this way as well. And I have the excitement, of course. There is the excitement about what's going to happen as a result of these conversations. What's going to happen as a result of changing your complete idea about what seemed to be a physical structure that had certain elements of materialness to it, but actually you start to talk about it in terms of wavelengths, in terms of vortices of energy, in terms of maybe different ways of languaging a physical form that hasn't yet come up in conversation. So it's like all sorts of possibilities start to blossom because you've said, let's become super aware. Let's have a whole super awareness take shape and form, where before there was a sort of like a languishment, a sort of like there's a timing going through of the sense you're moving through time and space, and there's a deterioration that takes place. You know, and I sort of like rejected that idea some years back because I wanted there to be a constant refreshment, a rejuvenation. And this far exceeds that. This supplants it. This says the construct itself, as it was originally gifted, it could be malleable, it could be shaped, but it depended upon who was there to do the shaping. And now I say, what's come to do the shaping is the presence of a intelligence that birthed it in the first place, and that knows the wonderment that can take place once you, as that intelligence, start to work the whole thing differently, work it in the most amazing ways that will come up in your now new form of reality. So I think, you know, the function of life changes because we're no longer observing you know, what can take place. We've become not just the observer, we've come to be the enlivening, the animation, the rejuvenation, whatever you want to now establish as your new form of relationship in this physical world. For want of a better way of calling it. Who wants to take up this conversation next? Who is excited? Who's got the tingles? Come on, I know you have.
I went instant, and you know, and I was sort of having the thought, but I got there before my thinking that all of my cells were all the universes, which was they felt like they were very excited, and then it just exploded in these waves. And I saw a form which I know I've seen before, but I don't know what it's called. It's not a tetrahedron and it's not the double helix, but where you've got waves coming out and there's a hole in the middle.
Oh, the torus.
That's it. Yeah. And it was just like that, just pulsating.
Licks lips with anticipation. Anybody else want to share?
Okay, I'll share. So I felt that whatever you said at the beginning, you're Solera too, Santari. On the thing, it says you're Solera.
We're the double.
You're the double.
Double act.
Anyway, Sundari, whatever you said in the beginning, it brought me to this feeling of like everyone knows what they want to do when they come here. There's no longer like something keeping people from knowing. And I saw myself like taking off these, I don't know, I think it's like when they experiment on people, what is it, like part of brain control or wave to wave, or you know, when people are, those things that they put on your heads.
The electrodes.
Yeah, like taking those off, and that was like deprogramming, like getting out of the world matrix. And it was very easy to do. And then just that was the difference. Now I had everything I need, like an artist, having all the colors that I specifically wanted, but in it, whatever you said in the beginning, I understood, well, everybody else, even though we're all connected and in the same kind of thing, everyone would have different colors or different source palette things that they would need, because they would be coming knowing what they wanted to do, and everybody would be doing something different and unique. But it was really wonderful. And, you know, I just rose up and I was on this fountain and everything was just fresh and free. I was on this beautiful burst of water bursting up from the bottom of the ocean. I have this whole cosmology thing I live in. Solera knows what I'm talking about. The goddess at the bottom of the sea. It's in my stories. Well, that's my life too. So, but it just felt like that. Like that was the change, getting out of the world matrix. So you just knew you had your own kit. Your own source kit. I had my own source kit.
Gina, Diane, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just being with the cells and seeing them as they dissolved, becoming very light and effervescent, and a new substance that was previously unknown was enlivening everything. And it was like my whole body was being redesigned with this new substance. And that was sort of as far as I got. It just feels like something miraculous is going on. And very, very expansive. Yeah.
Gina, Diane, can I just say, I know you were in the hospital yesterday with this blood clot thing, and you probably got home late last night, and it's 12:30-ish your time, and you look fantastic. You look strong and vibrant and healthy, and I think that alone is just an amazing testament, you know, to how you work.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it started 10 days ago, and it feels like the body is slow to catch up on what's been happening with the body. It's almost as if I've got two versions, what I'm feeling and what the 3D pictures and tests and things I've been getting are. Because I am feeling a lot stronger and with what we're doing today, it's just seeming to add to it. So.
You know, when you say 3D, I think you can also change the perspective of what 3D looks like from this place. Oh. So, you know, if you're talking about doing the 3D tests, etc., all that type of thing that I've had done to me in the past, I've looked at it in terms of invigoration. Still on the same energetic vibe as to what I now feel in myself, but gifting that to also anything else that happens in my life. So that I don't drop my field of reference or my feeling of the enlivenment, no matter what's happening, it's still there, in other words. So even when you come off the call and, you know, you're listening back to the call later tomorrow, you should always like now treat this as a new form of reference. That something has changed, a super awareness has taken effect, and that you're now in that state, and continue on in that state as well. That anything that you might experience in what you might call 3D life is actually something different, because you're in a different space, and so that becomes different as well. You're observing that, you're interacting with that, you're gifting whatever the people that you're with that vibe, and it's sort of like it does change your feeling about things, about people, about what's happening to you. Because, you know, I think it's very important that you say you had a blood clot, but you have the power to determine what that means for you. That you give it meaning and you give it purpose. You give that form, basically. And therefore it becomes something more than what a doctor might talk about a blood clot being a life-threatening condition. You change it. You change the structure of that information in your body. And therefore it becomes different in your body. And that, I think, is the revelation that's come to me during this week, of changing your thoughts about what a body is from something that is seemingly solid, but that, you know, actually it isn't solid. It's just different. It's different from consciousness. But then we bring the whole thing together, and the whole thing actually is energy. The consciousness, the physical form, states of beingness, all energy. And what we're dealing with is we're now giving languaging a new understanding of itself, of what its function can be here, of what our function can be here in these different structures. So everything must change. Everything has to change, because what you brought into being is something that it is like the last book of the Bible, the Revelation. You lay bare all that has been before, and you see it for what it has been, and now you determine that a new thing is now taking effect. And this new thing is whatever you might choose to call it. It might have a different name and language for each one of us. But the fact that we can actually come together and share this, I think, is the wonderment. Someone said it's like this universe of wonderment. And if you can find it within you to carry on that life of wonderment in all its varying forms of hues, textures, and glories, then you will not be disappointed. You will not feel that your body is full of aches and pains and so on. You'll see it differently. You'll re-engage and find something in you that knows it is a changed thing that has taken place.
As you're talking, I'm feeling everything evaporating. I'm getting this physical sense of coolness and, well, expansion is the word that I'm using, but it's like everything's being supercharged, and the body is emanating or giving off all of these new vibrations. So very cool. Thank you.
Wonderful. Karen, did you want to say anything?
I had a similar experience to yours in terms of being in oneness, I call it oneness, but with the source of all being. It was like, as you were saying, the physical or the material realm it's our perception. So it's like I tuned into the matrix of our being, which is not dense at all. And so I was tuning in a lot to the original blueprint, and I suppose similar to Aja, kind of that feeling of, I guess, being disconnected. She called it the matrix, and for me, I would call it a sort of a universal hypnotism that we have in this realm. And so it felt like a lot was going on. I mean, I was conscious of, omnipresence, omnipotence, what I would call God, and that is everything. There is no place that it is not. And so I was just immersed in that, and back to the original, as you were saying, it felt like something original. I would call it the original blueprint, but whatever one wants to call it, was being, I don't know if activated is quite the right word, but I was connecting with it in a new way. And in terms of just what I experienced, I got very, very, very warm and very quickly, and I felt almost weak with it. It was just like, whoa. So I actually went and turned up the AC. So, and it went through me. I mean, it's fine, but it was very vivid. So, so thank you very much. It's been very productive, I think.
Well, in terms of the heating, Sarah can attest to that. I'm the furnace at night and she's the refrigerator. You're on mute, love. Laurie, did you have anything that you got from that? No? Okay, let us just do one more tune-in for the end of the call. I don't know that it actually needs to have any direction to it. I feel that the direction is almost like taking place in this moment. So just be with that. See what it is. See where it's going. You next. So, what took place?
I'll go first. There was a collective fusion. Like this time, what we were all getting just came together like this in consciousness, and it was like watching a rainbow spinning effervescent vortex of spinning stuff. But it was each of our wisdoms was forming it. And almost like it had been before, and we knew how to do that somehow, but it came from all of us. And then I thought, oh, this is like a rejuvenation chamber. And so I went to get in it, and it was kind of like, no, you don't need it. So okay, put Gina Diane in it then. We'll see what happens. And then it like switched on, and it was doing all this stuff. And I could feel what it was doing. It was like all these little rainbow effervescent spinning things were reading each of her cells, her DNA, and they knew how to align every cell to her godness. And each cell needed a different tweak. It wasn't like one big blast of one frequency. It was like each part of the body and it knew how to operate with every single one of the like 5 trillion bits of you. It's really amazing. I loved it.
Some estimates go to 50 trillion.
Okay.
You're missing out on 45 trillion.
That kind of corresponds with what happened to me. It was like the universe in each of the cells was revealing itself. And my body became the omniverse, which it has, but it happened in a different way. And it was like there was a full partnership. It felt like my body was being unshackled, and I was bursting out and being a full partner, which it has never been before. So yeah, it was really magnificent. Mm-hmm.
It would be wonderful to see what happens over the course of the next 2 days too.
Mm-hmm.
So give us reports back.
I will, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I could go out and walk forever. We'll see.
Anybody else want to say what's happened?
Well, I'm not sure about saying this, but it was most strange. When I closed my eyes, I went immediately fast asleep. And when you spoke, I jumped out of my skin. Did you not see me? And it was like I went, click. I'm sorry. I don't know why I did it. I have no idea what happened. But I was gone. And then you spoke and I jumped out of my skin. And I was wide awake. Sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. So sorry.
No need to apologize. Not at all.
I'll have to look at that.
There will be good reason for it. It would be great if you just...
I will sit with it and have a look.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Such is the power of the word. You will sleep, you will awake.
I had an amazing experience, and I'll just describe the first beginning. Immediately as we joined in a circle, we were like one, and I knew that it reminded me of what Solera said about the void in the middle, or the vortex. And when you first said that, Solera, I just knew, well, the source is coming up from that emptiness or whatever. But anyway, I felt that we were all there in this circle, and whatever you want to call it, source, God force, whatever, was in the center. And I said, oh, I love you so much. And I started to cry. I was so touched. It was so fantastic. It really I felt the presence of source in a very kind of source to source way, but it was source. Oh, it was so beautiful, and I cried.
I think it's one experience to feel like source comes to you and almost like moves into you. But then when you say it, it's like the other experience, another experience, is when you feel it almost like erupting from inside. And this will like a total, this is what we've come here to do moment. Everything leads up to this moment, boom. And now you can start to live and really find what that road really means. We've come to the end of the hour. Is there anything that anybody really needs to say just before we close?
Thank you.
Okay, well, let me now reveal to you that starting next month in July, there's going to be a 4-part series for further Zoom calls for anyone who feels the call to pursue this adventure. It also will be called BodyShift. The price will be £75. It will also be recorded, so if you can't make any particular call, then you can listen to the replay. But if you really feel that you want to take this even further, please get in contact with me and we will do stuff together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Santari.
you. Beautiful.
You're very welcome. I'll just stop the recording there.